The more I spend time with the latest electric vehicles, the more I find examples that I enjoy. And this is one of the ones that, honestly, I've enjoyed the most in recent memory. With specifically referring to non-luxury or ultra sporty versions. So obviously, you know, electric Porsches and electric Benzes and stuff like that are in a class of their own. But for like the everyday electric vehicle, this 2022 Kia EV6 is awesome. All right, so what makes it so great? First off, I think it looks amazing. I think the design of this is excellent. A lot of people are going to compare this to the Hyundai Ioniq 5, which is a cousin of this vehicle, and I understand why some people would prefer that design language that has a retro future kind of pixel, cool, fun look to it, and I really like the way that one looks too. I think this one just looks sleeker, and I think there's more interesting elements to the design language of this one specifically. I don't dislike the Ioniq, I just like this one more. I think the way the lines pinch down to the nose, and you get some really cool daylight running lamp elements, and then there's a lower sill line that rises up through the opening for the rear wheel, and it turns into a rear lighting element and a duckbill spoiler, and it looks sick. Now this one has a satin finish gray paint to it, which looks awesome with Kia's new logo on the badges, and those badges are finished in like a brushed steel look. It's a lot of effort to make this car look cool, and it pays off. Inside, I think this works really well too. This is on their electric global modular platform, so there's good space inside. It is used appropriately for an electric vehicle. You have a storage underneath where the transmission would normally sit, and then you have a wireless charger up here, and just a simple rotary dial to select reverse, neutral drive, and park. The steering wheel design looks nice with another example of the brush finish badging and the new Kia logo. And then you've got two screens kind of melded into one ahead of you as the driver here. With it looks nice. There could be a better menu system, I think, on the infotainment side of things, but overall the responsiveness of the touch, the visuals, they all look good. But really cool feature though on the inside is this lower button bar. It is touch, but the way they've made it, and I don't love touch screens for a lot of things, but I like that they were able to put radio controls and HVAC controls in the same space by allowing you to alternate between which buttons are displayed. You push one button and it's map, nav, media, phone, all that stuff, change the volume, adjust the climate, adjust, you know, the track, all that stuff. Hit the little fan button and it all switches to temperature and other climate settings. It's really slickly integrated right there. And then there's more brushed steel above the power on button. There's a parking camera down here. And then the seats themselves are finished in a suede-like material. They're comfortable. It's just really nicely done. You've got a little bit of a opening here if you want to let some light in as well. It'd be cool to see this with a full-length glass roof. I don't know if that's an option. I don't think it is. Regardless though, the star of the show, I think, for the EV6 is design, and it presents itself well in that manner. But it's still an electric vehicle, so we're going to talk about how it goes. So with the EV6, the lineup is there's a model at the bottom called the Light rear-wheel drive. That's Light is the trim name. That gets a single rear motor and a smaller battery pack, 50-something kilowatt-hour battery pack, and it's making 167 horsepower. Immediately jump up to the Wind rear-wheel drive or the GT Line rear-wheel drive. That gets a larger 77.4 kilowatt-hour battery pack, and it gets 225 horsepower on that rear motor. Then there's an all-wheel drive version. You have a Wind all-wheel drive. You can also get this GT Line in all-wheel drive. That gets the same 77.4 kilowatt-hour battery pack. You get the rear motor, but it adds in a front motor, and now combined power output is 320 horsepower. You also have 446 pound-feet of torque, which is pretty darn great. Kia says this thing will run from 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds, which is plenty quick for a vehicle like this. Surprisingly, it handles really well. That's the one thing I'm so surprised about on the EV6, is that it's fun to drive. I expected it to be more of just kind of like a good-looking appliance of a vehicle, and and it is not the case at all. And this doesn't even have good tires. I've heard stories where they fitted these with like Pilot 4S's. This is wearing something called Krugans, which I've never heard of before, and I'm still having fun. I might be having more fun because they're not great tires, but I've driven rear-wheel drive versions of this. I've driven the all-wheel drive version. I was at the launch of this vehicle a few months back, and we were on some seriously twisty roads, and I was really enjoying myself. There's a playfulness that I didn't expect to this chassis. The car wants to have fun, and then it just kind of soaks in and just drives normal when you're just in doing normal stuff. There is a drive mode selector. There's eco, normal, and sport. It changes the gauges in front of you a little bit. You can also play with the regen levels. You can keep it in an auto mode where it moves regen around. I keep it set at the highest mode because it's not full one pedal driving, but it does a really good job of slowing you down. And if you are driving sporty, it does a really good job of setting you up for corners where you need to slow down a bit, but you don't want to go full hydraulic brake system. And then if you really want to one pedal drive it, there are paddles to adjust, but when you're slowing down, if you grab the left paddle, it'll turn it into a one pedal like driving. So it's one pedal and one paddle. But brakes feel good, steering system feels great, visibility is excellent, I'm super comfortable, and then you get this with a Meridian audio system, so the sound is great too. Put your phone here in the wireless charger. I wish you could do wireless CarPlay, and that's a Hyundai Kia thing. When you have their higher tier of screens, you have to go wired, and it's pretty lame. And I guarantee there's conversations internally where they're so annoyed with that they've gone down that path, and the next generation of updates for these systems will have to have wireless CarPlay because they have these wireless chargers and all this stuff. But this is just a wonderful, really good machine. Now, of course, it's an electric vehicle. There's a premium for electric vehicles. The base price of a Kia EV6 is right around $42,000. Climb all the way to the top of the hill, the current top of the hill, and you arrive at this one, the EV6 GT Line all-wheel drive. This one starts at $57,000, which is a lot of money, but very competitive in the segment. I feel like this is way more interesting than a Model Y. It looks better, it's built better, all that good stuff. It doesn't have the range that you can get with a Model Y. It doesn't have the infrastructure that you can get with a Model Y as well. I mean, that Tesla supercharging network is valuable for people who are logging miles on their EVs. Another competitor that's on its way out is the Audi Q4 e-tron. I think this is more visually interesting. It'll be interesting to see how those two stack up. That might present a more premium experience in the cabin, though this is really nice in here. I wouldn't be surprised if this one drives better than the Audi too. I don't know why. I'm very impressed that the effect that Albert Biermann has had overall I'm just impressed with how well sorted this car is in terms of an engaging driving experience. I did not expect that part of it. I knew I would like how it looked. I knew it would be decent enough in terms of range, but it's pretty great to drive, and that's nice. Now, speaking of range, the EPA estimate for this version is 274 miles. I've read a lot of stuff where people get closer to 260. That's about what I'm seeing as well, though it is easy. You can stretch it out. With driving this hard, I keep seeing my average miles per kilowatt hour rise above 3. If you really wanted to, you can get it to 3.5, get it closer to 4, and then get more out of that battery. I think the usable capacity is like 72 kilowatt hours on the battery, but it does, so if 260 is a bit of a concern, which it shouldn't be, I've had no issues with it during my week with this car, but it is for some people. This thing charges very quickly. It has an 800 volt architecture, and Kia says if you can find a 350 kilowatt charger, which Electrify America has some of those, you can get 70 miles in around 15, you can get 70 miles in around 5 minutes, which is awesome. That's more than enough to get you back on the road. And then if you want to go from 10 to 80%, you can do it in under 18 minutes, which is pretty great too. So, the car looks fantastic. The interior is very well laid out and comfortable. The power is fun. The driving is surprisingly engaging, and it charges extremely quickly. Now, if this still doesn't seem like enough for you, Kia is going beyond the GT line soon with the Kia EV6 GT. That one is going to have 576 horsepower. That's going to be amazing. That's going to be probably a $70,000 Kia EV6 though, which is wild to think about. I wonder if they'll be able to land it in the 60s. Either way, really, I'm curious about what kind of range that one's going to get, because that thing is probably going to be an absolute blast to drive, and I can't wait to learn more about that one. But for now, this one is awesome.